Prince of Romania proposed to her. Also, she attracted a few less savory guys, including a man claiming to be an Italian count who she almost married and then found out that he really wasn't.
You could say anything.
Right. So,
back then.
I know, it's great. Without the internet, you can get away with so much.
Yeah.
I actually found a kind of funny story when I was researching my future thesis recently.
Yeah.
Where she had a fling with the Duke of Manchester, who was the son of an American woman and a British man. And apparently his wife walked in on the Duke and Tallulah in bed with 2 other women.
Wow.
Yeah. If she didn't know that he was a womanizer before that, wow. He was a horrible, horrible human being, I will say.
And now for something not so scandalous.
Stay tuned for more scandal sheets after the break. And now, back to the show. As we've kind of said, she's a very dramatic individual. We know that she desperately wanted to play in a Somerset Maugham play called Rain. And she got the part and was rehearsing for it. And then Somerset Maugham fired her unexpectedly. And she was so devastated.
This is in London?
Yeah, this is in London.
Okay.
She tried to commit suicide by taking 20 aspirins. And she wrote her suicide note that said, "It ain't going to rain no mo," in true Southern fashion.
Yeah.
So after this suicide attempt, she woke up the next morning and was fine and promptly got cast in the lead role of Noel Coward's new play, Fallen Angels. So she ended up okay there. Finally, in 1931, she decided to move on and do something else. And that something else was conquer Hollywood. So she was signed to a 2-year film contract and moved west. This turned out not to be the best idea, because they wanted to cast her as the mopey sex symbol a la Greta Garbo, but she was better suited for comedy. We know that she saved many a horrible play by just hamming it up. One of my favorite anecdotes was she was starring in this horrible play called Conchita, and she was supposed to walk in with a monkey on her shoulder. The monkey spazzed out during the show and pulled her wig off and took off.
Oh my gosh.
And she just started improvising stuff
oh, not film. This is on stage, not film. So
stage,
you can't cut or anything.
Right, you cannot cut. So she was cutting cartwheels, which apparently was something that she really loved from childhood. After going to the circus, she would always cut cartwheels to break up tension, apparently, and made everybody laugh, and they quickly forgot about how horrible the play was. So she was really good at comedic stuff.
Which is funny, because in all the pictures, I haven't seen any pictures that I would consider an outtake. So in all the pictures, she looks very posed and old and vacant and aloof, and I wouldn't think that she would be someone that would be funny or want to cut up.
Well, it's funny, as you say, she appears to be aloof, because the great director George Cukor said, quote, "Her eyes were not the eyes for movies. They look somehow hooded and dead."
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Sure.
While Tallulah was hanging out in Hollywood, she was indulging her rather vast sexual appetite. As we were just discussing, if sex is really truly an addiction or not, she certainly had something going on.
She had mental instability and possibly illness.
Yes. Well, she apparently had affairs with Greta Garbo, Marlene Dietrich.
But is this based on her saying it, or did it really happen?
Well, that's a good question. Even if she said it, I would not necessarily believe it, because she seemed to be really good about...
But I guess those other women could have denied it as well.
Right. I think it's probably linking friendships, perhaps, to other women who were known to be bisexual, and in some cases maybe taking it the next step, that they might not have been sexually involved, but they may have also. So Greta Garbo, Marlene Dietrich were both known bisexuals. Joan Crawford, Hattie McDaniel, who played Mammy in Gone with the Wind. I know. It's like, what? Billie Holiday. So she got around. We do know that there were men in the mix as well, because she had 4 abortions during her 20s.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then finally, 1933, she was rushed to the hospital with severe abdominal pains, and it was discovered that she had a severe case of gonorrhea, which could only be cured by giving her a hysterectomy. And she did not lose her characteristic wit, because apparently when she left the hospital, she told the doctor, quote, "Don't think this has taught me a lesson."
Well then.
So
Right back at it.
I want to wrap it up here for today. Next time we are going to talk about a really pivotal time in Hollywood and the fallout of the studio system and how they controlled their stars. Also, the increasing rise of morality at that time. Adrienne is going to tell you about the hotel that she lived in Hollywood.
Elysee, it was in New York City. Hotel Elysee. I just looked it up.
And just possible that we might be able to dig up a place in Hollywood that she stayed in as well. You'll just have to tune in and see.
Yep.
So that's that. What have you been up to lately?
I'm almost done reading The Goldfinch, which is a Donna Tartt book it was a Pulitzer Prize winner in 2013. And I borrowed it a few years ago from a friend, but it's 800 pages. And so with my own research for this, my own book club books, I just was never able to start it. And now it's probably the best book I've ever read.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. Now, the other best book I've ever read is called Tell the Wolves I'm Home by Carol Rivka Brunt. And that book made me cry. And I had never ever cried while reading a book. So I'm thinking if The Goldfinch doesn't make me cry, I'm not sure I can say that it's the best book I've ever read. But it is amazing. It's amazing.
Well, I just finished up To Live and Die in LA.
It's so sad. Everything about it was sad.
It is very sad, and
it was not satisfying. I was not satisfied.
Yeah.
I was more annoyed.
They did a really good job, though, of making even the bad people human.
I'm not sure I agree with that, but I just didn't care after a while.
Yeah, so I finished listening to that last night.
To Live and Die in LA just seemed very sensationalized and kind of arbitrary. I'm not saying it wasn't sad. I was very sad, but I just didn't understand. I didn't know why he chose that particular case, because it was very local and it doesn't seem to have that many implications on a grander scale.
They closed the case without really fully investigating it.
Yeah.
And so I think it was worth that they put the time and the effort in it. And actually, they said that they were probably going to be starting a new season soon of a similar story where they felt like the LA Police Department had not done a really good job of investigating a disappearance.
I understand.
Other than that, I've been listening to all my recorded books, and I'm currently listening to The Mistresses of Cliveden, which is the famous Cliveden House in England, which is really interesting because it goes over all the women who have lived in the house since it was built.
Like the ladies of the manor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because interestingly enough, it was built for a woman who was a mistress.
Oh.
And he intended to marry her. And they, in a very interesting twist, it was like the 1600s, they were basically told to stay away from each other by the government. And so she never got to live in the house. And then after that, another royal mistress lived in the house. And then the Princess of Wales, mother of George III, was living there as well. So, and then finally all the way up to Nancy Astor, who was an American who ended up being the first female British member of Parliament.
When was that?
That was in the 20s or 30s she was elected.
So she's related to Madeline Astor. How?
No.
Oh,
I don't think so.
Oh, really?
She actually, she married William Waldorf Astor's.
Oh, sorry. Madeline was the young bride of John Jacob.
Yeah.
She wasn't an Astor. She married into John Jacob. Okay.
Right.
Sorry.
Nancy Astor married the William Waldorf Astor who left America and moved to England in protest of his aunt reigning over society and when his wife should have been the one. So, yeah.
So maybe there's a house or a podcast in there somewhere.
Yeah, well, they ended up...
Surely there's a house somewhere.
Well, yeah, I mean, they owned Cliveden. They also owned Hever Castle, which was where Anne Boleyn was born and raised. So,
oh, wow.
They were actually great preservationists, which is pretty cool. Anywho, good times.
Good cake.
Yes, we had Adrian's birthday cake. It was left over. I promised her it would freeze, and
it did.
I proved it.
Excellently. There's still more in there to be eaten at the next podcast recording.
Oh, no. I've got to be good. I've decided that I have to lose weight.
Well, you can do that after we eat the rest of the cake. There's only 2 pieces left. Mm-hmm.
I really don't need to be eating it because I'm not supposed to be eating gluten.
Oh.
But, you know. All right. That's it. If you are not already subscribed to us, please do that. We are available on all major podcast feeds. And make sure you're following our Facebook and our Instagram feeds as well. That's where we post information about our latest episodes. And sometimes we'll occasionally post on past episodes if we run across interesting information that comes.
Thank you to any new listeners that we've gathered after our session at the South Carolina State Preservation Conference.
Oh, yeah.
Back in April, we handed out some business cards there that Caroline designed, and they're beautiful, and we have our information on there as well as where you can listen, and I think the website was on there. And just if you're listening because you were at the Preservation Conference in Columbia and got to meet us or didn't, thank you for being there and listening.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate it. So until next time, ta-ta for now.
Good evening.